line down the left, or do you hit something down the right, or do you try to go as far up as you can? And I took that option.
You ever watch someone standing over a 1-foot putt and feel physically uncomfortable for them? Like your body knows something bad's about to happen? That's golf at its cruelest. 1 minute you're on top of the world. The next you're sinking faster than your ball in Rae's Creek. Today, we're talking about the biggest, boldest, most painful implosions the game's ever seen. Moments where victory was in the bag. And then the bag exploded. 1. Greg Norman's Augusta unraveling. Let's start with the gold standard of golf collapses. The 1996 Masters. Greg Norman walked into Sunday with a 6-shot lead. 6. That's supposed to be untouchable. But instead of a victory parade, we got a train wreck. Missed putts, chunked chips, bunker trouble. It was like watching someone's confidence evaporate in real time. By the end, Nick Faldo didn't even celebrate. He hugged Norman like he was consoling a friend at a funeral. That day turned the Shark into the poster boy for heartbreak. 2. Jordan Spieth's 12th hole disaster. 2016 Masters. Jordan Spieth looked untouchable. He'd built a 5-shot cushion, was walking Augusta like it was his backyard, and every swing felt like it was scripted for a highlight reel. Then he stepped onto the 12th tee, that tiny, peaceful-looking par 3 that's ruined more dreams than anyone can count. First swing, splash, straight into Rae's Creek. The crowd gasps, but nobody panics yet. He's human, right? He reloads, tightens his grip, breathes. Second swing, splash again. This time, the gasp turns into stunned silence. In a matter of minutes, the tournament flips from coronation to catastrophe. The next shot barely clears, the putt lips out, and by the time he's done, it's a quadruple bogey. You could almost see his confidence draining with every step toward the next tee. The energy, the swagger, gone. Danny Willett didn't steal that green jacket. Spieth practically handed it over, head down, like someone returning an item at customer service with a broken receipt. 1 hole, 3 swings, and the golden boy of golf suddenly looked like every other mortal out there. Shaken, human, and painfully aware that perfection doesn't last long at Augusta. 3. Phil Mickelson's "I'm such an idiot" moment, winged foot. 2006 US Open. Phil needs a par on the final hole to finally get the one major that's always ghosted him. And what does he do? Pulls out a driver, sends it bouncing off hospitality tents, ricochets off trees, finds sand, chaos everywhere, ends with a double bogey. His post-round quote says it all: "I'm such an idiot." That line became legend, not because Phil's dumb, but because every golfer knows that feeling. 4. Rory McIlroy's cabin crawl. Augusta, 2011. Rory McIlroy was just 21, baby-faced and fearless, standing on the brink of history. He'd led for 3 straight days, carrying himself with the calm of someone twice his age. Every swing looked effortless, every putt smooth. The green jacket was practically waiting with his name stitched inside. Then came the 10th tee, 1 swing, and everything changed. The ball didn't just go left, it went on a sightseeing tour, ending up between a bunch of cabins nobody even knew existed at Augusta. Commentators went silent. The crowd didn't know whether to laugh or gasp. What followed was the kind of unraveling you could feel in your chest. Missed putts, pulled drives, water balls, tension so thick you could slice it with a wedge. By the time Rory reached 18, he wasn't chasing victory anymore. He was just trying to survive the walk. He closed with an 80. That 4-shot lead? Gone. Swallowed whole by Augusta's cruel back 9. The look on his face said it all. The hollow stare of a young player watching his dream dissolve in real time. The Masters doesn't just break hearts, it vaporizes them. 1 swing at a time. 5. Dustin Johnson's phantom bunker penalty. 2010 PGA Championship. DJ's standing in what looks like trampled dirt, crowd all around. He grounds his club, totally normal. Except that dirt patch? Officially a bunker. 2-stroke penalty. No playoff, no major, just stunned silence. There were literally 1,000 bunkers on that course. That one barely looked real. But rules are rules, and that rule wrecked him. 6. Lexi Thompson's vanishing lead. 2021 US Women's Open. Lexi was in full control, 5 shots clear, swinging smooth, smiling, looking every bit the champion. The front 9 was pure rhythm, every shot crisp, every putt confident. Then the back 9 arrived, and it didn't come quietly. It started with a couple of short misses, the kind that normally mean nothing, until they start meaning everything. Her putter turned cold, her tempo stiffened, and you could almost see the tension creep into her shoulders. Each hole felt heavier than the last. The broadcast stopped feeling like a victory lap and more like watching someone trying to outrun their own thoughts. By the time she reached 18, she just needed a par to force a playoff. A single calm hole to steady the ship. But the swing was tight, the approach ran long, and the putt to save it slid past the edge. When she walked off, her face said it all. Not anger, not disbelief. Just that stunned quiet of someone trying to process how everything slipped away. It wasn't a sudden collapse. It was heartbreak unfolding in slow motion, one missed putt at a time. 7. Adam Scott's 4-bogey finish, 2012 Open Championship. 4-shot lead, 4 holes to go. Simple math, right? Scott bogeys 15, then 16, then 17. You can feel it tightening. By the time he steps on 18, he's shaking off ghosts. One last bogey, and Ernie Els, sitting in the clubhouse, suddenly becomes champion. It's the definition of golf cruelty. Calm to catastrophe in under 30 minutes. 8. I.K. Kim's miss of the century. 2012 Kraft Nabisco Championship. 1-foot putt to win. You could make it with a spoon. She sets up, strokes, and the ball lips out. Doesn't rim, doesn't bounce, just swerves like it's allergic to victory. The gallery groans. Kim freezes. She loses the playoff that follows, but honestly, the tournament ended right there. That 1-foot miss became eternal. 9. Patty Sheehan's 11-shot collapse, 1990 U.S. Women's Open. 11-shot lead, 11. You'd think she could coast home blindfolded. Instead, Sunday hits different. Bogeys multiply, Betsy King starts creeping closer, and suddenly that mountain of a lead turns into quicksand. By the time Sheehan realizes what's happening, it's over. Missed playoff by 1. Golf doesn't just humble you, it publicly dismantles you. 10. Mito Pereira's Creek Catastrophe. 2022 PGA Championship. 1 hole from glory, 1 swing from Chilean golf history. All he needs is a par. He goes full send. Ball drifts right into the creek. Just like that, everything vanishes. He finishes with a double bogey, misses the playoff, and watches Justin Thomas lift the trophy. 1 swing too aggressive, 1 dream too fragile. 11. Michelle Wie's scorecard slip. 2008 State Farm Classic. Why shoots 67. Crowds buzzing, everything clicking. Then she walks off without signing her scorecard. Boom, disqualified. No scandal, no bad shot, just a missing signature. Imagine grinding for 4 hours and losing it all because of a pen. Brutal doesn't even begin to cover it. 12. Nelly Corda's bunker loop. You know a hole's gone wrong when the crowd stops reacting. At first, it's just polite murmurs, the kind golf fans do when something slightly off happens. But by the 3rd mistake, you could hear the tension shift. Nelly's par 3 starts routine enough. Smooth swing, confident setup, until the ball buries itself in the bunker. No big deal, right? Everyone's seen her get up and down from worse. Then her next shot flies out of the sand straight into the water. The crowd gasps. She regroups, resets, tries again. Splash. Again. By the 4th attempt, the bunker isn't just a trap. It's a black hole swallowing strokes and pride. The fans stop cheering altogether. Even the commentators run out of words. Just soft sighs and awkward silence. By the time she finally escapes, it's a 10 on the card. A 10. Watching it felt like seeing a computer crash in slow motion. Every move lagging. Every attempt more desperate than the last. You could almost feel her frustration through the screen. That mix of disbelief and stubborn determination. It wasn't just a bad hole. It was a full emotional roller coaster. And everyone watching was strapped in right beside her. 13. Dustin Johnson's 2015 3-putt. Chambers Bay 2015 U.S. Open. DJ's 12 feet from glory. Eagle to win, birdie to tie. First putt slides past 4 feet. Second putt, misses. Spieth wins. Johnson just stands there, blank. No reaction, no anger. Just the look of a man replaying every millimeter of that roll in his head. Silence never hit so loud. 14. Jean van de Velde's Carnoustie Chaos. 1999 Open Championship. Needs a double bogey to win. That's it. He hits the driver into the rough, second shot ricochets off the grandstand into a creek. Then, for reasons known only to Chaos, he wades into the water to try to play it. Shoes off, pants rolled up, pure madness. Ends with a triple bogey, loses the playoff. Still, it's iconic. The most theatrical meltdown ever caught on live TV. 15. Sergio Garcia's Masters. Meltdown. 2018 Masters. 15th hole. Defending champion Sergio Garcia walks up like he owns the place. Same smooth swing, same calm demeanor. But this time, Augusta wasn't playing nice. His first shot lands in the pond. Annoying, but manageable. He reloads, focuses, breathes, splash. Another one gone. The third, same story. By the fourth, even the commentators sounded like they were narrating a slow-motion tragedy. Then the fifth ball meets the same watery fate. 5 in a row. When the sixth finally stuck on dry land, the crowd didn't cheer. They exhaled like survivors. Sergio managed to card a 13 on that single hole, and his face said everything. Confusion, disbelief, and that hollow feeling every golfer knows too well. It wasn't anger. It was heartbreak wearing a polite smile. One moment, he was the reigning champ. The next, he was a man watching his legacy sink one splash at a time. That hole didn't just wreck a scorecard. It showed how even the best can get caught in the spiral, when the course stops feeling like grass and starts feeling like quicksand. What makes these moments unforgettable isn't just the bad luck or the bad swing. It's how human they are. Every one of these players was good enough to win. But golf isn't played in the muscles. It's played in the 6 inches between your ears. The sound of the crowd fades, your heartbeat becomes thunder, and suddenly a 3-foot putt feels like a moon landing. That's when greatness either shows up or falls apart. Pressure doesn't care how many majors you've won. It doesn't care about rankings or sponsors. It just waits, quiet, patient, for the tiniest crack. And when that crack appears, it doesn't take much. One bad swing, one wrong read, one unsigned scorecard, and history flips. So yeah, golf might look peaceful. Birds chirping, green grass, polite clapping. But beneath that calm is pure psychological warfare. And maybe that's why we love watching it. Not because we enjoy the pain, but because every meltdown reminds us how fragile perfect really is. Which one of these collapses hit you the hardest? Norman?
Savage reaction, oh.
It's going to exceed our expectations. Ian Poulter.
The Ryder Cup is golf's biggest pressure cooker. Every 2 years, friendships get pushed aside, reputations are made or shattered, and sportsmanship sometimes takes a back seat to sheer intensity. Over the decades, the Cup has delivered some of golf's wildest, most controversial moments, scenes so heated, they're still talked about years later. Let's jump into the 10 most controversial moments in Ryder Cup history. And some of these? They're not just shocking. They completely rewrote the rulebook for what fans expect from golf's fiercest rivalry. 1. Reed vs. Rory, the Gladiator Duel, 2016. Hazeltine, 2016, Sunday singles. Everything was on the line. Team USA was trailing, 9.5 to 6.5 after a rough Saturday, and they needed a spark. That spark? It came from Patrick Reed and Rory McIlroy in the 8th match. Reed came out swinging, birdied the first hole, turned to the crowd, arms raised like he was conducting a symphony of 40,000 fans. But Rory? Not one to back down. He responded with a birdie of his own on the second. That back and forth continued, turning the match into pure golf theater. Then came the moment that sent the golf world into meltdown. The 6th hole. Reed drained a massive putt, then turned to the European gallery, finger to his lips. A bold, ice-cold shush that made jaws drop. Rory, visibly rattled but not out, returned the favor later with a fist-pumping celebration of his own, cupping his ears at the American crowd after sinking a bomb. Every hole became a battleground of looks, gestures, and roars. Reed would go up, Rory would claw back. It wasn't just golf, it was theater. When Reed finally closed out the match 1-up, fans didn't just cheer. They knew they'd witnessed what might be the greatest Ryder Cup singles match of all time. And for Team USA, they had a new lightning rod. 2. The Impossible Burden. Philip Walton's Moment of Truth, 1995. September 24th, 1995. Oak Hill. Europe needed 7.5 points to pull off what seemed like an impossible win on American soil. And somehow, the fate of the Cup rested not on a legend like Seve or Faldo, but on a quiet Irish rookie ranked 108th in the world. Philip Walton was up against Jay Haas in the final singles match. He was cruising, 3 up with 3 holes to play. Then the nerves kicked in. Haas holed a miracle bunker shot on 16. Walton missed a short putt on 17. Suddenly, everything hinged on the 18th. As Walton lined up his 2-footer, his caddy was chain-smoking behind him, literally shaking. The math was simple. Walton just needed a bogey. But the pressure? Anything but simple. Before the final putt, Walton cut off his caddy's reed and said, "Brian, I've got 2 putts for it. I think I'll take them." He sank it. Europe had pulled off a 1-point win. Bernard Gallacher ran onto the green and hugged Walton. "You've just won the Ryder Cup," he yelled. Walton's stunned reply, "Have I?" That's the thing about golf. Sometimes it's the quietest guy on the course who makes the loudest impact. 3. The Birdie Barrage, Garcia vs. Mickelson, 2016. While Reed and Rory were duking it out in one of the loudest matches in Ryder Cup history, just a few holes down the course, something equally incredible was unfolding. Without the drama, but with all the fireworks. Sergio Garcia and Phil Mickelson were playing like men possessed. Shot for shot, birdie for birdie. By the time the dust settled, they'd combined for 19 birdies and 0 bogeys. Garcia shot an 8 under 64. Mickelson, a 10 under 62. That's not match play golf. That's a clinic. It wasn't a heated match full of shouting or stare downs. It was heated because neither man would give an inch. It felt like watching 2 guys who had waited their entire lives for this moment. Every hole had crowds flocking away from other groups just to catch the magic. The match ended halved, but the impact? Lasting. Many still call it the greatest golf performance in Ryder Cup history. Proof that sometimes the drama is in the scoreboard. 4. The Miracle at Medina, Poulter's 5-birdie blitz, 2012. Team Europe was 4 points down heading into Sunday singles at Medina in 2012. No European squad had ever come back from that kind of deficit, especially not on American soil. But Ian Poulter, he wasn't having it. Saturday 4 balls. Poulter, paired with Rory McIlroy, was 2 down with 5 to play against Duffner and Zach Johnson. Then it happened. Poulter birdied 14. The crowd barely noticed. Just noise control, they figured. But then he birdied 15, then 16, then 17, and finally 18. 5 straight birdies, 5 consecutive roars. Poulter's celebration after that 5th was so loud, it echoed across fairways. Europe suddenly wasn't dead. They were just getting started. On Sunday, belief returned. Justin Rose, Luke Donald, Paul Lawrie, Martin Kamer, they all stepped up. But it was Poulter who lit the fuse. Europe completed the miracle comeback, 14.5 to 13.5. And Ian Poulter, he walked off as a Ryder Cup legend. 5. Broken Partnership, Reed vs. Spieth Fallout, 2018. In 2018, Paris looked like it would be another step forward for Team USA. Patrick Reed and Jordan Spieth had been dominant, 4-1-2 together in previous cups. But Captain Jim Furyk made a decision that shocked everyone. He split them up. Spieth got paired with Justin Thomas and played well. Reed? He got Tiger Woods, who was still shaking off rust from years of injuries and off-course issues. The pairing flopped. Reed lost both his matches. He looked frustrated, but it didn't end there. After the crushing defeat, Reed dropped a bomb in the New York Times. He blamed Spieth. He blamed Furyk. He called out the team dynamics in brutal detail, saying Spieth didn't want to play with him, and the captain's decision had backfired. It was rare, almost unheard of, airing dirty laundry in public like that. The chemistry issues weren't just rumors, they were confirmed by one of the team's own stars. And just like that, Team USA's future suddenly felt more uncertain than ever. 6. The Belfry Confrontation. Faldo refuses the concede, 1993. 1993, the Belfry, final singles match. Nick Faldo versus Paul Azinger. The two had a rivalry stretching back 6 years, and now? They were face to face with nothing on the line for the cup. The US had already clinched, but everything on the line for pride. Faldo made par. Azinger had a 6-foot putt to have the match. Most would have conceded. A gentlemanly nod and handshake. But Faldo. He folded his arms and just stared. Azinger didn't flinch. He stepped up and buried the putt dead center. Later, while watching tape of that match during his recovery from cancer, Azinger smirked. "Look at that," he said. "I had cancer and he still couldn't beat me." Sometimes, it's not about the cup. It's about the message. That cold refusal to concede sparked whispers across both teams. Even with the cup already secured, Faldo made it personal. The tension between them wasn't hidden. It had been simmering since Muirfield in '87, where Faldo edged Azinger by a single stroke to win his first Open. The loss left scars, and at the Belfry, Faldo saw a chance to twist the knife. Azinger knew it too. As he stood over that final putt, there was no fanfare, just quiet resolve. That stare down on 18 said more than any press conference ever could. Players from both squads noticed the chill. Some praised Faldo's competitive fire. Others? Not so much. Azinger later said it was one of the coldest moments he'd experienced in match play. Years down the line, the rivalry still had legs. In interviews, neither man fully let go of that moment. It's rare to see a match with no cup implications turn into a defining Ryder Cup memory. But this one did. Because pride, when mixed with history, can sometimes outshine the trophy itself. 7. Mickelson torches Watson. Public fallout, 2014. Glen Eagles, 2014. Team USA got steamrolled, 16.5 to 11.5. Tom Watson had been brought back to captain the team, hoping to recreate his 1993 magic. But behind the scenes, the atmosphere was toxic. Watson had reportedly mocked a gift the players gave him. In meetings, he blamed them for everything. When he benched Phil Mickelson for an entire session, the tension hit a boiling point. Then came the press conference. A reporter asked what had worked in the past that hadn't worked now. And Phil lit the fuse. He began methodically breaking down why Paul Azinger's 2008 strategy had worked, and why Watson's approach had failed. "Nobody here was in any decision," Mickelson said, just 3 feet from his captain. The fallout? Immediate. The US created a Ryder Cup task force. Watson's reputation took a hit, but that brutal moment led to a full retooling of the US strategy, and arguably, their win at Hazeltine in 2016. 8. The Hatgate Meltdown, Rory vs. LaCava, 2023. Marco Simone, Rome. Saturday 4 balls. Patrick Cantlay had been mocked all day by European fans waving hats, teasing rumors that he wasn't wearing team headgear as a protest for not getting paid. Cantlay drained a birdie on 18. His caddy, Joe LaCava, waved a hat in celebration, mocking the mockers. But LaCava kept celebrating, even while Rory McIlroy was lining up his own crucial putt. Rory was furious. He walked toward LaCava, pointing and shouting. Other players stepped in. But the real explosion came after, in the parking lot. Rory, still seething, had to be physically restrained as he went after LaCava again. The video went viral. The images were everywhere. And for Team Europe, that fire ended up fueling them to close out the victory the next day. 9. War on the Shore. The Rules Meltdown, 1991. Kiowa Island, 1991. American patriotism was red hot. US players arrived wearing camo caps. The Ryder Cup had turned into something far more intense, the war on the shore. The drama started early. Seve Ballesteros and Jose Maria Olazabal noticed something strange. The Americans were switching golf balls during foursomes, a violation of the one-ball rule. Azinger denied it, later admitted it. No penalty could be enforced, but the damage was done. The gamesmanship spiraled. Sev developed a cough during American swings. Raymond Floyd called him out mid-round. The crowd grew increasingly hostile. The final match came down to Bernhard Langer's 6-foot putt on 18. He missed. The US won 14.5 to 13.5. But nobody was talking about golf anymore. They were talking about a battle. 10. Brookline Breakdown, The Line Crossed, 1999. September 1999. The country club, Brookline. Europe had a 10-6 lead going into Sunday. Then it all went off the rails. From the opening tee shots, fans heckled European players mercilessly. Colin Montgomery bore the brunt. hearing personal insults, attacks on his family, even body shaming. It was brutal, but nothing compared to what happened on the 17th green. Justin Leonard drained a 45-foot birdie bomb, and before Jose Maria Olazabal could even putt, the American team stormed the green. Players, wives, caddies, everyone. They trampled across his putting line, celebrating like the match was over. Olazabal still had a 22-footer to have the hole. He missed. The US completed the comeback. But for many in Europe, Brookline remains the lowest point in Ryder Cup sportsmanship. What made it worse was how long the celebration went on. It wasn't a few seconds. It was a full-blown party, with hugs, screams, even high fives from officials. The European team stood by in disbelief. Sam Torrance, one of Europe's vice-captains, looked like he'd seen a ghost. Even Jack Nicklaus later said the behavior was unfortunate. The respect that had always existed between the two teams suddenly felt fractured. Montgomery, already under siege from the crowd all week, was visibly shaken. His father had been targeted by hecklers in the gallery. It wasn't just passionate fandom, it was personal. Mark James, Europe's captain, admitted after the tournament that it was one of the most painful days of his career. There were even reports of players refusing to shake hands in the clubhouse. What should have been one of golf's greatest comebacks ended with bitterness. The Ryder Cup had officially crossed into a new era, one where intensity sometimes blurred the line between competitive fire and pure chaos. And from that day forward, every Ryder Cup has carried the weight of Brookline's legacy. The Ryder Cup brings out the best, and sometimes the absolute worst, in the world's greatest golfers. Over the years, it's delivered iconic shots, historic comebacks, and unforgettable meltdowns. But at its core, it's always been more than golf. It's national pride, it's rivalry, it's emotion, unfiltered and raw. And that's why, even decades later, these controversial moments still echo through Ryder Cup history. If you
Two perfect shots, Michael. You got me in the water on one and over the green on the other.
Golf is supposed to be calm, classy, and polite, right? Wrong. Beneath the quiet claps and manicured fairways lies a sport that's full of rage, ego, and chaos. From screaming matches to caddies storming off mid-round, some of the craziest confrontations in sports history have happened on a golf course. And today, we're reliving the absolute best of them. Let's start with a scene that shows just how quickly things can spiral when the stakes are sky high. The US team was dominating at the Ryder Cup, cruising with a massive lead. Europe desperately needed a miracle. Then one of their stars steps up on a par 5, slips on his tee shot, and sends the ball sailing straight into Lake Michigan. In match play, that's a disaster. Every single shot is life or death. Then things got messy. All four players agreed where the ball crossed the hazard. Simple drop, end of story. But a course official claimed it was 20 yards farther up, a game-changing difference. An American protested. The European caddy fired back, and a routine ruling exploded into a heated argument. In the end, the original spot stood, the US won the hole, and the tension was unforgettable. Golf is built on trust, especially between a player and caddy. Picture a pro facing water with almost no margin for error, torn between a 4-iron and something longer. They debate wind, slope, adrenaline, until the caddy calmly explains, the uphill lie will add loft, making the 4-iron perfect. The pro trusts the call, hits a towering shot, and lands it softly on the green. That's the power of partnership, relying on someone else's judgment when pressure clouds your own. But not every partnership is built on that kind of harmony. Sometimes, it's pure chaos. Like the time Tiger Woods was locked in during a tournament, standing in a bunker and about to hit a critical shot, when a camera shutter clicked right in the middle of his backswing. Tiger stopped immediately, clearly furious. His caddy, Steve Williams, had already asked the fan twice to stop. Third time? He didn't ask. He marched over, demanded the camera, ripped it out of the man's hands, and tossed it straight into a nearby pond. Just plop. Gone. Security froze. The gallery gasped. Tiger didn't even look back. That's how sacred silence is in golf. It's not a courtesy. It's a commandment. Then there are the moments that are less about anger and more about absurdity, like the time a player argued that he should get a free drop because his ball was sitting on an anthill. His reasoning? Ants dig holes, so they're burrowing animals. The rules official was having none of it. Ants are loose impediments, not burrowers. What followed was a hilarious mid-tournament biology debate complete with questions about allergic reactions and ant tunnel classifications. In the end, the ruling didn't change, but the moment was pure comedy gold. Of course, not every disagreement is funny. One of the most infamous meltdowns in golf history happened when a frustrated pro verbally tore into his caddy mid-round. After one too many missed shots, the insults started flying, and his caddy had enough. He dropped the bag right there on the fairway and walked off. The stunned golfer looked around and ended up asking a random spectator, a school principal of all people, to carry his clubs for the rest of the round. Imagine buying a ticket to watch a tournament and ending up in the tournament. That partnership, unsurprisingly, ended the moment the final putt dropped. Then you've got the moments where caddies are practically begging players not to self-destruct, and getting ignored anyway. At a tournament in Texas, a player's ball landed behind a massive tree. His caddy begged him to punch out and play it safe. The player refused, swung anyway, and absolutely nuked it over the green, exactly as predicted. But fate was feeling mischievous. The ball landed near a grandstand, which meant free relief, and he ended up chipping in for birdie. His smug post-round comment? "I love proving my caddy wrong." Ouch. That stubborn streak runs deep in golf. Another star found himself in a brutal spot after his tee shot ricocheted off a tree and buried itself in deep rough. His caddy wanted him to just chip out, take the safe route, and try to salvage par. But the player was overthinking every possibility. What if the layup doesn't reach? What if it costs another shot? Finally, frustration boiled over. "Let's just hit it," he snapped. And he did. A perfect recovery, a pinpoint approach, and a birdie that turned the hole around. Sometimes, logic loses to instinct, and instinct wins. And if you think things only get heated between players and caddies, think again. At one Ryder Cup match, a European player told an American caddy to move out of his putting line, but did it with the kind of tone that would make anyone's blood boil. The putt dropped, tension spiked, and suddenly players and caddies from both teams were nose to nose, shouting as they walked to the next tee. The match ended with stiff, icy handshakes, the kind where you smile for the cameras but silently wish you could throw a punch. And sometimes, the anger doesn't stop at teammates or opponents. It hits family. After a brutal few days at a major, one player hit yet another awful drive. Without even glancing back, he tossed his driver over his shoulder, straight at his caddy. That caddy happened to be his brother. The crowd gasped, phones shot into the air, and the clip went viral within hours. He walked off without a word, and his brother silently picked up the club and followed. It was the perfect snapshot of golf's emotional pressure cooker, and how even blood ties can't always survive it. If there's one rivalry that proves golf isn't always the gentleman's game it claims to be, it's the saga between two of the sport's biggest personalities. Two men who spent years sniping at each other in interviews, throwing shade on social media, and even getting fans kicked out of tournaments for heckling. It started with snide remarks about slow play, escalated into public insults, and peaked with that now legendary interview moment. The one where one of them rolled his eyes so hard when the other walked past that it instantly became a meme. Fans started chanting nicknames. One offered free beer to anyone who joined in on the trolling. And suddenly golf had its own version of a heavyweight boxing feud. So imagine the collective confusion when, after years of open hostility, the two were suddenly laughing together, cracking jokes about their past battles, and even talking about teaming up. It was like watching sworn enemies hug it out in a buddy cop movie. It just goes to show, in golf, the line between rivalry and respect is razor thin, and sometimes, even the fiercest feuds burn out. But when pride and tension collide, things can go way beyond petty words. Take the match between Keegan Bradley and Miguel Angel Jimenez at a World Golf Championship event. Neither player had anything on the line. Both had already been eliminated, but you wouldn't know it from the way they were glaring at each other. The tension started when Jimenez questioned a drop Bradley was given earlier in the round. By the 18th hole, it boiled over. Bradley's ball landed near a temporary fence, entitling him to relief. Routine stuff, until Jimenez walked 40 yards back to offer his opinion on how the drop should be handled. Bradley's caddy wasn't having it and fired back. Jimenez told him to shut up. Bradley stepped in, defending his caddy, and suddenly the two pros were face to face, shouting on the fairway. This was no polite disagreement. This was a full-blown confrontation. Jimenez won the match, but the post-round explanations didn't smooth things over. Bradley said he had to stand up for his guy. Jimenez claimed he was just trying to help. Either way, it became one of the most infamous dust-ups the sport had ever seen. Just when you think golf's drama ends on the green, it spills into the parking lot. Late one night at the Ryder Cup in Rome, cameras caught a European star screaming at an American caddy, so furious that a teammate had to drag him into a car. The chaos started earlier when fans mocked a US player for not wearing a team cap, rumored to be a protest over pay. After that player drained 2 clutch birdies, his caddy waved his hat at the crowd. Right in the rival's putting line, it was pure gasoline on the fire. And it's not always just anger. Sometimes it's fear. In a 2021 Ryder Cup match, a major champion found his ball near a drainage area just weeks after injuring his wrist. He begged for relief, but officials said no. Furious but determined, he hit anyway, and pulled off a brilliant shot. Golf isn't always about etiquette. Sometimes it's survival. And then there's the moment when frustration becomes so overwhelming that a player makes a career-defining decision in the middle of a tournament. Jessica Korda was having a brutal round at the US Women's Open. Nothing was going right. The tension between her and her caddy had been building all day, and finally mid-round, she snapped. She fired him. Not after the round, not in the locker room, mid-round. And because she still had holes to play, she looked to the gallery and called on her boyfriend to carry the bag. He was a pro golfer himself, so he handled it fine. But the whole scene felt surreal. One second you're watching the US Open. The next, you're watching a breakup and a new hire happen live on camera. Some caddies don't even get the dignity of being fired in person. Michelle Wie's early career became notorious for what many called the caddy carousel. One veteran, fresh off a strong finish at the British Open, was sitting in an airport when his phone rang. It was Wie's agent, not Wie herself, telling him he was done. No explanation, no goodbye, just, "You're out." It happened again and again. Caddies started joking that they never unpacked their suitcases when working with her. The pressure of her rapid rise, the expectations, the relentless spotlight, whatever the cause, the turnover became one of the strangest ongoing stories in women's golf. And just when you think the drama couldn't possibly escalate any further, a caddy shoved a fan. Yes, you heard that right. It happened at the President's Cup in Australia, and the player involved was already public enemy number 1 thanks to a controversial bunker incident the week before. The crowd was relentless, heckling, chanting, mocking him on every hole. After 3 straight losses, his caddy, who also happened to be his brother-in-law, snapped. He leapt off a cart and physically shoved a heckler. Security had to step in, and the caddy was banned from carrying the bag the next day, a first in President's Cup history. The player had to finish the tournament with his swing coach on the bag, and the incident became a headline for weeks. Here's the truth. Golf's clean-cut image is a lie. Underneath the polite clapping and pressed polos, it's a sport built on emotion, frustration, pride, anger, and even love. It's teammates shouting at each other, players arguing with officials, caddies defending their pros, and fans pushing buttons until someone snaps. And maybe that's what makes these moments so compelling. Golf isn't just about fairways and flags. It's about people under pressure, and pressure always reveals who they really are. So the next time someone tells you golf is boring, remind them of the time a caddy threw a camera into a pond, a player fired their caddy mid-round, or a parking lot turned into a shouting match. Because in this sport, the drama doesn't end when the ball drops. That's usually when it starts. And if you enjoyed diving into the wild side of golf, don't forget to stick around. There are plenty more untold stories. The crowd is silent. A putter hovers above the green. The air feels heavy, almost electric. One smooth stroke could win it all, or spark outrage that ripples across the world of women's golf. Golf may look peaceful. Calm greens, slow claps, polite smiles, but beneath that quiet surface lies a storm of drama, emotion, and pure intensity. From mid-match firings to shocking penalties, these moments remind fans that golf isn't just about precision, it's about pressure. Today, let's unpack the 10 most heated controversies in women's golf history. The moments that shocked fans, divided opinions, and changed the sport forever. Number 10. Fired and hired. Jessica Korda's mid-match meltdown. It's 2017. The stage is the US Open. Jessica Korda is grinding through her third round, visibly frustrated as her game starts slipping away. The sun's hot, the tension's high, and frustration is building with every swing. Spectators can see it. Korda's body language says it all. The tension between her and her caddy, Jason Gilroy, has been bubbling for holes. Then, suddenly, it all explodes. Right there, in the middle of the tournament, Korda fires her caddy. No private conversation, no locker room discussion, just raw emotion, caught on live television. The crowd watches, stunned. Cameras zoom in as she turns to her boyfriend, Johnny Delpreet, and calmly hands him the bag. The switch is instant. He steps in as her new caddy. Mid-round. Some viewers call it unprofessional. Others see it as a moment of brutal honesty. Korda later explains that having her boyfriend by her side helped her settle her nerves, keeping her mind at peace through the chaos. No matter the justification, that scene at the 2017 US Open became unforgettable. It wasn't just about golf anymore. It was about composure, emotion, and how far a player might go to regain control in the heat of competition. Number 9. The sudden outburst. Stacey Lewis loses her cool. Fast forward to the 2012 ShopRite LPGA Classic, the final round. The air is thick with pressure. Stacey Lewis, known for her calm and composed demeanor, is laser-focused until one misstep breaks her rhythm. After a rough shot, Lewis does something completely unexpected. She grabs her club, turns, and smashes it against her golf bag. The sound echoes across the course, a sharp, metallic reminder that even the calmest athletes can crack under pressure. The crowd gasps. Commentators go silent for a beat, unsure how to react. For a golfer celebrated for her poise, this was an uncharacteristic eruption of emotion. But what's fascinating is what happens next. Lewis takes a deep breath, regains control, and finishes the tournament strong, landing third. The incident becomes a reminder that even champions aren't immune to frustration. In golf, where silence, etiquette, and restraint define the sport, that moment of raw emotion turned Stacey Lewis into a symbol of both passion and humanity. Number 8. The missed putt, when sportsmanship turned into chaos. The 2021 Solheim Cup was supposed to be a display of the finest team play in women's golf. USA versus Europe, pride and pressure on the line. Then, controversy struck. Nelly Korda lines up her putt. The ball rolls slowly toward the hole, teeters on the edge, and stops, just shy. European player Madeline Sagström, assuming it's over, reaches down, picks up the ball, and tosses it back. A small gesture of courtesy? Maybe. But in golf, every second counts, and every rule matters. Officials step in, review the footage, and determine Sagström acted too quickly. According to the rulebook, players must wait 10 seconds before touching a ball resting on the lip. Sagström's quick reaction meant that by rule, Korda's putt counted as hold. The ruling gives Korda an eagle, and Team USA a win. But the decision divides the entire golf community. Some call it unfair. Others insist that rules are rules. Sagström later admits she simply didn't think twice. She just acted instinctively. That single split-second decision turned into one of the most debated calls in Solheim Cup history. Number 7. The intense rivalry. The Solheim Cup showdown. The 2015 Solheim Cup is remembered as one of the most emotionally charged tournaments ever played. The tension between Team USA and Team Europe was palpable, but one particular moment pushed everyone over the edge. American golfer Allison Lee was on the green, facing a short putt, less than 2 feet. Thinking her opponent Suzanne Pettersson had conceded the putt, she picked up her ball. What happened next stunned everyone. Pettersson protested. The referees ruled that no concession had been given. That meant Lee had forfeited the hole. The ruling gave Europe the point and the lead. But the sight of Allison Lee crying on the green, teammates comforting her, and Pettersson's stoic reaction ignited an emotional firestorm. Critics called the move unsportsmanlike. Defenders said Pettersson had simply followed the rules. The fallout was so fierce that even days later, headlines screamed about sportsmanship gone too far. Eventually, Pedersen issued a public apology, admitting the moment should have been handled differently. But by then, the damage was done. The 2015 Solheim Cup was forever marked by that tense, tearful standoff. Number 6. Call it what you want. The fist bump that sparked debate. In 2019, two golfers, Amy Olsen and Araya Jutanagarn, found themselves at the center of a debate that no one saw coming. During a tournament, Olsen's chip shot bounced and struck Jutanagarn's ball, resting on the green. It redirected Olsen's ball closer to the hole. A lucky break? Sure. But what caught everyone's attention wasn't the shot. It was what came next. The two players looked at each other, smiled, and fist bumped. It was quick, casual, even friendly. But to fans watching from home, it looked suspiciously coordinated. Was it sportsmanship or something else entirely? Social media lit up with theories. Some viewers accused the players of planning it, suggesting that Jutanagarn might have intentionally left her ball to give Olsen an advantage. Others brushed it off as coincidence. Just one of those wild things that happen in golf. Both golfers denied any wrongdoing, but the conversation didn't stop. For weeks, commentators debated the fine line between fairness and friendship. That single fist bump, a moment that lasted seconds, became one of the most talked about, maybe controversies, in LPGA history. Number 5. The slight mishap. When 3 grains of sand changed everything. Imagine training your whole life for a moment, only to have it undone by 3 tiny grains of sand. That's exactly what happened at the 2016 US Women's Open during the playoff between Anna Nordqvist and Brittany Lang. Nordqvist was playing from a bunker when her club barely brushed the sand. The movement was so subtle that most viewers didn't even notice it, but slow-motion replay did. Officials ruled it a violation, handing Nordqvist a 2-stroke penalty. That in itself was brutal, but what made it worse was timing. Nordqvist wasn't told about the penalty until after she finished her final hole. Lang, meanwhile, was notified earlier, giving her an advantage in strategy. Fans erupted online, accusing officials of mishandling the situation. Nordqvist handled it with grace, but it didn't stop the backlash. People called it unfair, saying the ruling was overly harsh for something so microscopic. To this day, that 3 grains of sand penalty stands as one of the sport's most controversial moments, proof that even perfection can crumble under scrutiny. Number 4. The seemingly unfair penalty. Lexi Thompson's heartbreak. Few controversies hit as hard as Lexi Thompson's shocking penalty during the 2017 ANA Inspiration. Thompson was on fire, leading the tournament, smiling, confident, just a few holes away from victory. Then, everything fell apart. Mid-round, LPGA officials approached her on the course. They informed her she'd been handed a 4-stroke penalty, 2 for improperly replacing her ball during the 3rd round, and 2 more for not correcting it. The most unbelievable part, the penalty came from a TV viewer's email. That's right, someone watching from home noticed the ball's position, emailed officials, and changed the entire outcome of the tournament. The crowd was furious. Thompson looked stunned, then heartbroken, asking, "Is this a joke?" She fought back tears and kept playing, but the penalty cost her the win. The backlash was immediate. Fans argued it was absurd that viewers could influence outcomes hours after the fact. Even other pros called the rule outdated and unfair. The incident led to changes in the LPGA's policy, limiting viewer interference. But for Thompson, the sting of that loss remains one of the sport's most emotional moments. For those watching live, it felt like witnessing an athlete's dream crumble in real time. The cameras caught every flicker of emotion on Thompson's face. Disbelief, anger, heartbreak, and finally, resolve. She refused to quit. Every swing after that announcement carried the weight of the world, but also the strength of someone refusing to be defeated by circumstances beyond control. Commentators struggled to find words, the crowd murmured in shock, and social media exploded with sympathy. Even players from rival tours spoke up, defending her integrity and calling for fairness in the sport. It wasn't just a controversy anymore. It became a movement, a symbol of how compassion and reason needed to evolve alongside the rules. And though Thompson didn't lift the trophy that day, she won something far more enduring, the respect and empathy of millions who saw her face adversity with grace. Number 3. Lydia Ko's 7-stroke nightmare. The 2023 Dana Open turned from triumph to disaster for Lydia Ko, one of the sport's most respected stars. Ko was in excellent form, cruising near the top of the leaderboard. Everything was going right, until it wasn't. On the 11th hole of her final round, officials discovered she had made a costly mistake. She had been playing under preferred lies, a local rule allowing players to adjust the ball's position. The problem? That rule only applied to holes 1 and 10. Ko had unknowingly used it on holes 3, 7, and 9. When officials added up the penalties, it totaled 7 strokes. 7. Her score plummeted. Overnight, her name slid from near the top of the leaderboard. Calm, precise, elegant. A quiet walk spoiled only by the occasional missed putt. But when egos, pressure, and physics collide, it becomes one of the funniest, most chaotic sports on the planet. From professionals losing their minds on live TV to shots so bad they made legends want to crawl into a bunker and never come out. These are the 30 most painfully embarrassing moments in golf history. 1. The day a pro went full WWE on a fan. It was supposed to be a regular tournament round, but when a heckler in the gallery mouthed off one too many times, one player decided enough was enough. He ducked under the rope, marched straight toward the stands, and swung his putter like he was about to settle things the old-fashioned way. Security stepped in before anything happened, but the clip went viral, mostly because his playing partner calmly sank a par putt, while chaos brewed just a few feet away. 2. Shuffle, shuffle, still shuffling. Some players are known for their swing. Patrick Cantlay is known for his shuffling. Before every shot, he wiggles his feet and adjusts his stance for what feels like eternity. It reached peak comedy when Phil Mickelson calculated the total number of foot shuffles in a round and compared it to a gym workout online. Fans roasted him relentlessly, but Cantlay shrugged it off. Apparently, you can't rush perfection or glacial pace. 3. The driver that didn't survive the ride. Just minutes before a playoff, one golfer hopped into a cart feeling confident, until a gallery rope wrapped around her bag and snapped her driver clean in half. She'd already lost her primary driver earlier that week, so this was her backup. Forced to tee off with a 3-wood, she still held her own, but her opponent drained an eagle and stole the win. Sometimes it's not the swing that ruins your day, it's the golf cart. 4. Tiger plus Phil equals total disaster. Pairing two of the greatest golfers ever should have been a dream. Instead, it was a nightmare. When Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson were paired in the Ryder Cup, everyone expected fireworks. They got miscommunication, frustration, and 0 points. They used different types of golf balls, hated each other's style, and lost both matches. Europe steamrolled the US, and the super team became a cautionary tale in chemistry. 5. The champion who swam for his ball. Richard Finch was cruising toward a win when his second shot landed near a riverbank. Determined to save the hole, he swung hard from the slope and toppled straight into the water. Drenched but undeterred, he scrambled out and still managed to win the tournament. But the highlight reel wasn't about his victory. It was about the man who fell into a river mid-swing. 6. The fan who stole a pro's ball. Twice. Nelly Korda had seen a lot on the course, but she hadn't seen this. During a major, a fan casually walked up and picked up her ball mid-round, holding it up like a souvenir. 2 years later, in the exact same tournament, a kid did it again. Both times, she handled it with grace, but it left fans wondering if the event needed ball security as much as player security. 7. The ball that rolled away by itself. Ricky Fowler was coasting with a 4-shot lead when things got weird. After a couple of unlucky rolls into the water, he placed his ball and walked away, only for it to roll back into the hazard by itself. Nobody touched it, no wind, just gravity betraying him. The penalty strokes piled up, his lead vanished, and his frustration was visible to everyone watching. 8. The legal but suspicious putter. Bernhard Langer technically followed the rules when anchored putting was banned. He just barely moved his hand off his chest. Officials cleared it repeatedly, but fans weren't convinced. Every big putt sparked debates about whether he was breaking the spirit of the rule. It was like watching someone obey the letter of the law while flipping off the rule book. 9. The vanishing golf ball. Stephen Gallacher was on a roll, until his drive disappeared into thick rough and refused to be found. He hit again, same result, and again. On his 4th attempt, he finally found fairway, but the damage was done. A quadruple bogey and a career highlight turned blooper reel. 10. The white pants incident. White pants on a rainy day? Bold choice. One golfer's attempt to save par from a creek turned into slapstick comedy when he slipped and landed squarely on his backside, soaking his pristine outfit. He still made par, but the internet didn't care. The memes practically wrote themselves. 11. The par 5 catastrophe. Phil Mickelson once carded a 10 on a par 5. It started with a perfect drive and ended with disaster. Water balls, wild misses, and mounting strokes. By the time he finally holed out, even the commentators were speechless. It was a brutal reminder that even legends can implode. 12. A chip shot for the ages, and not in a good way. Hunter Mahan needed a routine up and down to win the Ryder Cup. Instead, he chunked the chip so badly it barely moved. He missed the putt, lost the match, and watched Europe erupt in celebration. For a man who'd nailed that shot 1,000 times before, it was a moment that stung for years. 13. The sprinkler head geyser. Trying to smooth down sand after a bunker shot. One frustrated pro accidentally hit a sprinkler head. Water gushed everywhere, flooding the green and creating chaos. He still managed to make par, but the image of him turning the 17th hole into a water feature became instant golf lore. "14. Blaming the caddy. Bubba Watson's meltdown at the Travelers Championship was bad enough. He hit his ball into the water and triple bogeyed, but blaming his caddy for the club selection on live TV turned a tough moment into a PR disaster. Fans roasted him for weeks. 15. The bikini wax ban. A commentator once described Augusta's greens as being bikini waxed. That, combined with calling mounds body bags, got him banned from Masters broadcasts forever. It turns out Augusta National has a sense of humor, just not that kind. 16. The shush heard round the world. Patrick Reed shushed a hostile European Ryder Cup crowd after sinking a putt. They responded with even louder boos. Whether you think it was bold or dumb, it made for legendary TV and cemented Reed's reputation as golf's ultimate villain. 17. The trash talk backfire. Brooks Koepka mocked his competition for having fewer majors than him before a final round. Then he shot a brutal 74 and finished tied for 29th. The lesson? If you're going to talk trash, you better back it up. 18. 7 putts of doom. Ben Crenshaw, one of the best putters in history, once took 7 putts on a single green. Panic set in, everything fell apart, and he eventually walked off the course mid-round. The putting gods can be cruel. 19. The practice swing penalty. Hudson Swafford took a casual practice swing and accidentally hit his own ball with a flying divot. 1 stroke penalty, embarrassment, and a new entry in the rulebook of ridiculousness. 20. Throwing the captain under the bus. Phil Mickelson once used a Ryder Cup press conference to publicly criticize his own captain, while the man sat right next to him. The tension in the room was so thick you could slice it with a wedge. Players stared at the floor, and reporters shifted in their seats as Mickelson calmly praised the leadership style of a different former captain, pointing out how players had been trusted and involved in decisions back then. It was a clear dig at the current captain's approach, and the silence that followed made it even more awkward. Watson sat there stone-faced, saying nothing, while one of his star players called out the team's failures in real time. 21. The 10-inch miss. John Rahm once missed a 10-inch putt. 10 inches. It wasn't a tricky downhill slider or a pressure-packed clutch moment. It was the kind of tap-in most people would make without even looking. Fans watching at home collectively screamed, commentators fell silent, and Rahm just stood there staring at the ball like it had personally betrayed him. It was a rare lapse in focus from one of the game's best, and the stunned look on his face said it all. Even the pros aren't safe from golf's most humiliating moments. 22. Disqualified over a towel. Craig Stadler knelt on a towel to avoid dirtying his pants. A viewer called in, and officials ruled he'd built a stance. 2-stroke penalty. But because he'd already signed his card, he was disqualified, losing $37,000 in the process. 23. 6-putt meltdown. Danny Lee's 6-putt horror show ended with him smashing his putter into his bag and withdrawing due to a wrist injury. Sure, Danny. 24. The Great Collapse. Greg Norman once entered Sunday at the Masters with a 6-shot lead, the kind of cushion that usually guarantees a green jacket. But Augusta has a way of humbling even the best. Shot by shot, that lead began to slip away as missed fairways, shaky putts, and mounting pressure took their toll. Nick Faldo, calm and relentless, kept applying pressure until Norman's confidence completely unraveled. By the time he reached the back 9, the collapse was in full swing. When his crucial chip on the 15th hole slid past the cup, something in him seemed to break. He dropped to the ground, staring at the sky in disbelief before lying back on the grass, a man watching his dream disintegrate. He went on to lose by 5 shots, and that image of Norman sprawled on Augusta's fairway remains one of golf's most haunting reminders that no lead is ever safe. 25. Security guard blitz. A security guard once slipped and nearly tackled Tiger Woods while trying to protect him from fans. Thankfully, Tiger was fine, but the guard's dignity didn't survive. 26. 10 on a par 3. Nelly Korda once carded a 10 on a par 3 after hitting the water 3 times. It was a rare off day for one of golf's most consistent players, and a brutal reminder that the sport has no mercy. 27. Tiger's triple dip. Even the GOAT isn't safe. Tiger Woods once hit 3 consecutive balls into the water at Augusta's 12th hole, finishing with a 10, his worst single-hole score ever. Even he laughed at the absurdity. 28. The Birdman incident. A man dressed as a bird ran onto the green during the US Open. Security tackled him, the crowd roared, and the winner made a joke about enjoying his jail cell. It was absurd, hilarious, and unforgettable. 29. The Yips take over. Ernie Els took 6 putts from close range on the very first hole of a tournament. The dreaded Yips turned a confident start into a humiliating 10. Fans winced. Els shook his head. 30. The Walk of Shame. Kevin. No once needed 16 strokes to finish a par 4. He lost count mid-hole and had to ask his caddy for help. By the time the ball finally dropped, the gallery had gone from gasps to giggles. Even Na laughed about it later, calling it his walk of shame. Golf is often described as a gentleman's game, but let's be honest, it's also a playground for chaos. It's a sport where even the best in the world can be humbled by a 10-inch putt, a rogue sprinkler, or a fan dressed as a bird. And maybe that's why we love it so much. Because beneath the green jackets, million-dollar sponsorships, and polished swings, it's still a game where one bad decision can turn you into a meme for life. If you enjoyed this ride through golf's greatest disasters, stick around. There's a lot more where this came from, and who knows, the next unforgettable meltdown might be just one swing away. Picture this. A 21-year-old phenom, 4 shots clear with 9 holes to play at Augusta National. The green jacket practically hanging in his locker. Then, in the blink of an eye, everything falls apart. We're not talking about a bad hole. We're talking about hitting it between cabins, a place most golfers didn't even know existed on the course. This is the story of how one of golf's most devastating collapses didn't just break a young man's dream. It rewrote the entire playbook for how professional golfers handle pressure. April 10th, 2011. Rory McIlroy stood on the practice range at Augusta National, a 4-shot lead tucked safely in his back pocket. At just 21 years old, he'd already dominated the first 3 rounds, posting scores of 65, 69, 70. The golfing world had collectively decided this kid was about to become the youngest Masters champion since Tiger Woods. His game had been pure magic, driving it long and straight, iron play that looked effortless, and a confidence that seemed bulletproof. "This is a fantastic position to be in," McIlroy had told reporters the night before. "I'm finally starting to feel at home on this golf course." But here's the thing about Augusta. It doesn't care about your comfort. It doesn't care about your 4-shot lead. And it certainly doesn't care that you're 21 years old and the future of golf. The warning signs appeared early. Standing over that first tee shot on Sunday, something felt different. McIlroy later revealed that his second shot into the first green was the first defensive shot he'd hit all week. "I felt, don't go left, and it was then when I realized that things just weren't going to be quite as easy as they were the first 3 days," he admitted. That bogey at the first was just the appetizer. The main course of disaster was still 9 holes away. But wait. McIlroy steadied himself. He fought back with a brilliant 20-foot birdie putt at the 7th, pumping his fist as the ball dropped. He was back to 11 under, 1 shot clear of the charging pack. Behind him, Charles Schwartzel was making noise. Tiger Woods had just posted a front 931, complete with an eagle. The roars echoing through the Georgia pines would have been intimidating for anyone, let alone a 21-year-old trying to win his first major. Then came the 10th hole, the moment that would define a career, and eventually transform it. McIlroy's tee shot didn't just miss left, it went violently, catastrophically left. The ball struck a tree and caromed into golf purgatory, between the white cabins that separate the main course from the par 3 course. Television viewers were stunned. Commentators stammered. "I don't think anyone's been there before off the 10th tee," McIlroy later said. The cameras captured him peeking out from behind a tree, trying to figure out where his ball had ended up, looking like a lost kid in a maze he couldn't escape. His attempt to punch out back to the fairway went low and left. His third shot missed the green. His fourth shot hit another tree. By the time he tapped in, he'd made a triple bogey 7. In the span of one hole, McIlroy had plummeted from first place to 7th. The look on his face said it all. This wasn't just a bad break. This was a nightmare unfolding in real time. But the golf gods weren't done. At the 11th, another bogey. At the 12th, Augusta's devilish par 3 where so many dreams go to die, McIlroy somehow found himself inside 20 feet after a solid tee shot. Then he 4-putted for a double bogey. 4 putts. From inside 20 feet. The whole thing sort of just got to me, McIlroy later confessed. I got a little bit flustered, rushed a little bit. Walking to the 13th tee, McIlroy was a shell of the confident kid who dominated for 3 days. His tee shot on the par 5, a hole where he should have been thinking birdie or eagle, found Rae's Creek. The cameras caught him slumped over his club, on the verge of tears, as the water swallowed any remaining hope. From the 10th green to the 14th tee, McIlroy later said, was just a bit of a blur. He'd gone from 12 under to 5 under in the span of 4 holes, a 7-shot swing that felt like a 7-hour freefall. The final 5 holes were a formality, a death march through Augusta's back 9 with thousands of eyes watching a young man's dream die. He shot 80, 8 over par. Charles Schwartzel, meanwhile, birdied the final 4 holes to win his first major at 14 under par, finishing a staggering 10 shots ahead of the kid who'd started the day in control. Standing at the scorer's table, McIlroy's voice was steady, but his eyes told a different story. I'm feeling very disappointed right now, and I know I will be for the next few days, but I'll get past it, he said. I was leading this tournament with 9 holes left, and I just fell apart. It's a Sunday at a major, and it can be overwhelming. This was my first experience with it. But here's where the story takes a turn. Because what happened next morning changed everything. Not just for Rory McIlroy, but for how professional golfers approach the mental side of the game. McIlroy got on the phone with his parents, Rosie and Jerry, before heading to the airport. His mom said something like, "Oh, don't worry, Rory, everything will be okay." And that's when the dam broke. I just blubbered back, "No, it won't be okay," McIlroy later revealed. At the time, it felt like the only chance I would have of winning at Augusta, and I blew it. When did I last cry over golf? I don't know, when I was a kid probably. His parents, working-class folks from Northern Ireland who'd sacrificed holidays for a decade so their son could chase his dreams, didn't panic. His father, Jerry, had instilled in Rory an eternal optimism, a habit of looking for the positives even in the darkest moments. That morning after phone call became the foundation for one of sport's greatest mental comebacks. Then came the phone calls from golf legends. Greg Norman, the man who knew a thing or two about Masters heartbreak after his own collapse in 1996, reached out with crucial advice. I was 21 when it happened to me and he was 40, Norman told McIlroy, making the young Irishman realize this wasn't his last chance. Norman's advice was direct. Create this bubble around you. Don't let anyone affect you or interfere with what you need to do. Be very self-centered on the golf course. Jack Nicklaus, holder of a record 18 major championships, was equally direct but more challenging. He wanted to give me a kick in the rear end, McIlroy recalled. Nicklaus emphasized that the most pressure he ever felt was the pressure he put on himself, and that champions had to relish that pressure, not run from it. Armed with this wisdom, McIlroy made a decision. He wasn't going to hide. He wasn't going to take time off. He was going to face his demons head on. I needed that day to learn a lot about myself, about my golf game, and what I needed to do differently when I found myself in that position again, he later reflected. 8 weeks later, at Congressional Country Club outside Washington, D.C., Rory McIlroy didn't just win the U.S. Open. He obliterated the field. He shot a bogey-free 65 in the first round to take the lead. In the second round, he fired a 66 to set a U.S. Open record for the lowest 36-hole total at 131, 11 under par. By Saturday, he'd extended his lead to 6 shots. But Sunday was where the real test came. This was the moment we'd find out if the Masters had broken him or forged him. Walking to the first tee with a commanding lead at a major championship, the exact scenario that had destroyed him 2 months earlier. How would he respond? He responded with one of the most dominant final rounds in major championship history. McIlroy shot 69 to win by 8 shots over Jason Day. His 72-hole score of 268, 16 under par, shattered the previous U.S. Open record of 272. He broke or tied 12 U.S. Open records that week. Tiger Woods' legendary performance at Pebble Beach in 2000? McIlroy beat his 12 under by 4 shots. Standing on the 18th green at Congressional, McIlroy was asked about Augusta. His answer was simple but profound. If I didn't have that day at Augusta, I probably wouldn't have been able to win the U.S. Open. Think about that for a second. The worst day of his professional life, a day that included hitting it between cabins, 4-putting from 20 feet, and crying to his parents, wasn't a career ender. It was a career maker. But the impact of that collapse to triumph story rippled far beyond Rory McIlroy's trophy case. It fundamentally changed how professional golfers approach the mental game. Before 2011, working with a sports psychologist was something players whispered about, afraid it made them look weak. After Rory's redemption, it became standard practice. Dr. Bob Rotella, one of golf's most renowned sports psychologists, later worked extensively with McIlroy and noted that roughly 70% of tour players now work with mental coaches. Golf is a game of mistakes by definition, Rotella explained. The bottom line is, you're going to make a lot of mistakes every time you play golf. But it's not the mistakes that define you. It's how you respond to them. McIlroy's approach to mental training became a case study. He started meditating for 20 minutes before rounds. He worked on visualization, not just of perfect shots, but of worst-case scenarios and how he'd handle them. I'll think about if I'm on a tee box. Where's the worst place I could hit it off the first tee? McIlroy revealed. And then I put myself there and I'm like, well, what would you do? There's no scenario so bad that I can't figure it out. This wasn't positive thinking in the traditional sense. This was something deeper, accepting that golf is hard, that you'll hit bad shots, and that your response to adversity matters more than the adversity itself. It's a philosophy that's now taught to junior golfers around the world. Every golfer knows that feeling when the wheels come off. But this wasn't just losing your driver swing. This was watching a kid's dream die in real time on golf's biggest stage. The cabins shot? That's the kind of thing that happens to us weekend hackers, not guys leading the Masters. But Rory used this pain. He learned from it. And that's what separates champions from everyone else. Padraig Harrington, who won 3 majors before McIlroy's U.S. Open victory, later admitted the performance broke him psychologically. Where I was broken, Rory broke me in 2011, Harrington said. He broke everybody, but I was the best player. That's what I believed. For Harrington to say that a 22-year-old's performance shattered his self-perception shows just how dominant and how mentally transformed McIlroy had become. The 2011 Masters collapse didn't just create a better Rory McIlroy, it created a blueprint for resilience in professional golf. It proved that your worst moment doesn't have to define you. It can refine you. Remember that your worst round isn't the end of your story. It might just be the beginning of your best one. Because if Rory McIlroy could bounce back from the Phantom Triple at Augusta, there's no shot too bad, no round too ugly, and no dream too broken to be rebuilt. The cabin shot became the crucible that forged a champion. And in doing so, it changed golf forever.